Getting ready to do a relief cut of an STL file that I pulled into Blender, and I used Fabex CNC to create the G-code. I have no idea what's going to happen with this. This is the first time I've used Fabex CNC. I've set up 4 passes on this. There's a roughing pass, kind of a rough finish pass, and then another fine finish pass, and then I've got a cutout pass, because the cutout won't go all the way through. So I've got the machine homed and touched off, and I believe I'm about ready to go. I'm running this at 1,000 millimeters a minute, and it's still going to take at least 45 minutes. I'm getting different time estimates. Fabex CNC was giving me one that was a good bit longer, but my simulator said about 45 minutes, so we'll see which one's right. There's one thing I'd like to change right off the bat. Set this up to be a parallel cut, but I was expecting it to go down and back. There's a lot of wasted movement of this. Had a little disaster on the first cut. It was working out just fine. I did an unintentional test on my battery backup. It's an ACP. For some reason, every time I shut this thing off, I have to disconnect the battery to reset it, and that requires unplugging it from the wall. Well, I reset it and forgot to plug it back into the wall, and so the machine stopped around here, and when I plugged it back in, I'm not sure what went wrong, but the machine started back up and then plunged all the way through the board. The computer is on a different uninterruptible power supply than the CNC. Well, I thought that it would be able to keep track of where the machine was, but I don't know, apparently not. At any rate, I went back and remade the files. Turns out I need to use a parallel profile with the zigzag instead of climb down to get the machine to cut bidirectional. So this should speed the process up a bunch. That's what we got after the roughing pass. I don't think I mentioned, but I'm using a 2-flute spiral upcut. It's 1/8 of an inch bit. I'm getting ready to load the cutout because I'll be using the same bit for that. It's just running around the edge. I had forgotten to add the G-code for the machine to return to the touch off at the end of the file, so that's something I'll need to keep in mind. Fabex CNC doesn't do that automatically. I have to tell it to do that, but it's simple enough to enter it into Linux CNC manually. So I'm back at the touch off. my sketchy hold down setup couldn't handle the vibration of the cutout pass. One of the wedges kicked loose and the board jumped up and spun around a bit, but it didn't do a serious amount of damage. Since it's just a test, I'm going to go ahead and rerun the cutout pass and finish out the other passes. I suppose in the future I'll probably screw my boards down to my spoil board, but I believe the tape will hold it. All this really has to do is keep the wedges from vibrating loose. Okay, the Y was close enough on. Didn't appear to have moved any in the Y direction, but I rehomed the X, and I don't know, it may not be good enough for an actual project, but for this test I think we're going to be close enough. So I'm going to fire up the spindle and run it again, try this cutout, see what happens. Cutout pass finished quickly once I got a handle on my little issues. So now I'm getting ready to take this straight cutter out and load a ball nose bit. This may be my last pass. I'm going to see how smooth this comes out. I may not need to run the finishing pass with the tiny 1/4 millimeter ball nose. So we'll see. But I'm going to take a break and grab some lunch first. I brought my lunch down into the workshop and I'm going to eat while this finished pass runs. Well, that pass finished before I finished my lunch. We'll grab the vacuum and vacuum it off and see what it looks like before I send the cutter head back home. So for this piece to look nice, probably do need a finished pass with a smaller ball nose. This is an 1/8 inch ball nose. The only smaller ball nose I have is a 1/4 millimeter, and the file is going to take about an hour and a half to run. I really don't want to invest that much time in this test piece because I can see what I need to see. The machine's definitely capable of doing relief cuts, and Fabex CNC seems to work really well. It's just a matter of me getting everything right. I think the settings I used were pretty good. So probably the next step is to get some finer ball nose bits and maybe refine the settings a little bit. It's a little flat up here on the top, which it shouldn't be. It should be completely rounded over. So anyway, I've got a few things to check out, but this looks really promising. There's a closer look. so you can see the roughness showing up on the camera. Hopefully it'll show up in the video. And you can see my little hole down there where I had the second little foul up with the board kicked loose. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with this for a first test. Anyway, thanks for watching.